talk about this, we are joined in the studio by Graham Anderson, who is the Principal Officer at ProfMed. Thank you very much for joining us there.
It's a great pleasure, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Yeah, over 3.7 people not getting organ transplants at this time around. What is the cause of these high statistics?
Well, I think that there are a number of causes, but I think, in my opinion, I think the biggest problem is that there's no real coordination between potential donors and potential recipients. So what we have is a potential donor or somebody who's passing on, who's on a ventilator in a hospital in, for example, Krugersdorp. And you might have somebody who's in Benoni, which is the other side of Johannesburg, who's desperately waiting for an organ, and there's no coordination to get those two together. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's where it's falling apart. I think that if there were enough coordinators out there, if we had a central coordinating body, which would be which would include all the private sector and government, we could then get a proper list of those patients that were requiring a transplant. They could be worked up so we understood what their blood types were and what their matching donors would be, and that could be a living document. And the people that need the organ most, and the most desperate for the organ, would be on the top of the list, and those that are not so desperate would be lower down. And then as the coordinators identify that there is a potential donor in a potential place, then that coordinator would go out to that hospital.
Mm-hmm. Just paint a picture for us. Do you have a profile of your database? I mean, like when you spread throughout the 9 provinces of the country, do we know exactly where organs are needed and we don't have potential organ donors?
No, and that's the problem. We don't know. We don't have a list of patients that need donors. I think it's very isolated. I think the various private hospital groups look after their own, so they understand the needs of the doctors that work in those particular hospitals, so they understand that that particular patient is looking for a transplant, and they identify donors within their group instead of doing it across all groups, including government.
Do you think, again, it has to do with the attributes of religious and cultural inclinations, where other people say, according to their faith, they cannot have any part of their body being taken out when they die, and other people say, according to their culture, they don't practice organ donation?
I think that plays a role. I think it's playing a diminishing role. I think more and more people are understanding that there's a need for this, and more people are making themselves available to become donors. But unfortunately, there needs to be a coordination between the donor and the recipient.
What is it that's bringing a halt to the progression of organs being distributed to where they are needed the most? Like you said, hospitals look after their own. Then how will anybody who wants, for example, a kidney transplant know what to do if people are having such an attitude?
It's very difficult, and that's why I'm so pleased that you've given me the opportunity to talk on this platform, and that is that I think it needs to be a coordination between private sector, in terms of the hospitals, the transplant surgeons, the Organ Donor Foundation, and government. All need to be on the same page for this to work.
Many people say they don't know when they're going to die, and other people don't know the process of donating an organ. Is it a question of donating when I'm still alive, or do I have to write a will that when I die, you can donate my organs to an organization?
Well, that's quite simple. You can contact the Organ Donor Foundation. You can go onto their website and make an application. You can make a living will. In other words, write it out on a piece of paper, sign it and give it to your family, so that your family can make sure that it's done afterwards. It's the simplest thing to become a donor.
Many people are afraid of this process. I mean, like, for example, it's taboo to other people, and they would be so scared about it. Just let's face the reality. Paint a picture of somebody who has to change his mind about organ donation so that they can be able to help. Because many people, I believe, some of them die before getting a liver transplant or perhaps kidneys.
That's the sad thing. Things like livers, hearts, lungs, spleens have to be taken from cadavers, from people that have died. But clearly, people can donate a kidney. I mean, there's often times when a parent or a sibling would donate a kidney to that family member if they need it, because you can live with one kidney. But for the majority of the major organs, you need to put in a living will and make your family aware that you want to become an organ donor.
So when you're still alive and you want to donate, do you have to choose who your organ goes to?
No, I think that you don't. As I say, the kidney, you would only give it to a sibling or to somebody who you know, because you know that they're desperate for a kidney.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just before you go, your context again, if one wants to find out more about organ donation.
Well, I think the best place to contact is the Organ Donor Foundation. I'm here representing ProfMed, which is a medical scheme, and I just want to see more people being available to A, to donate, and B, more people being transplanted that are desperately in need of organs.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson, for talking to us this afternoon.
It's a great pleasure.
All right. Mr. Anderson is the principal officer at ProfMed, talking to us about donating organs. We'll give you the details later on in our program in case you want to find out more about donating an organ. Well, moving on, the Shembe leadership trial continues today in the Durban High Court.